Marcus had been stationed on Kepler 442b for 8 months now, serving as part of the first human diplomatic mission to the Velari homeworld. The azure-skinned inhabitants of this distant planet had initially been wary of the newcomers, but slowly, carefully built bridges were beginning to span the cultural divide. The research facility buzzed with activity as humans and Velari worked side by side, sharing knowledge about their respective civilizations. Marcus found himself increasingly drawn to one particular Velari researcher named Lyra, whose graceful movements and melodic voice had captured his attention from their first meeting. Lyra possessed an otherworldly beauty that left Marcus speechless most days. Her luminescent skin shifted between shades of deep blue and violet, depending on her mood, and her large, opalescent eyes seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries. When she smiled, which happened more frequently around Marcus lately, tiny silver patterns would appear along her temples like living constellations. Today, Marcus sat in the observation deck overlooking the facility's main laboratory. Lyra worked below, her long fingers dancing across holographic displays as she analyzed atmospheric readings. Her colleague, Kai, another Velari with darker blue skin and intricate tattoos covering his arms, stood beside her pointing at various data points. "The human delegation seems to be adapting well to our environment," Kai noted, his voice carrying the musical quality common to all Velari speech. "Yes, they have shown remarkable resilience," Lyra replied, her gaze briefly lifting toward the observation deck where Marcus sat. "Some more than others." Marcus felt his heart rate increase as their eyes met, even through the transparent aluminum barrier separating them. He had been struggling with his growing feelings for weeks, knowing that interspecies relationships were uncharted territory in diplomatic circles. The cultural barriers seemed insurmountable at times, yet something about Lyra drew him like gravity. "She's incredible," Marcus murmured to his fellow human researcher Tom, who sat nearby reviewing planetary survey data. "The way she processes information, the care she takes with every calculation. And that laugh of hers sounds like wind chimes in a gentle breeze." Tom glanced up from his tablet, following Marcus's gaze. "You're falling hard for her, aren't you?" Marcus leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his brown hair. The weight of his emotions felt heavier each day, like carrying a secret that grew more precious and more burdensome simultaneously. He watched as Lyra gracefully moved between workstations, her silver hair catching the artificial light and creating an almost ethereal glow around her. "I don't know what to do about it," Marcus admitted quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. "The protocols, the cultural differences, the fact that we barely understand each other's societies. But when I look at her, none of that seems to matter." He paused, his eyes following every movement she made below. The way she tilted her head when concentrating, how her skin brightened slightly when she discovered something interesting in her. Research, the gentle way she interacted with everyone around her. "She's so beautiful," Marcus whispered, his voice filled with longing and uncertainty. "I wonder if she'd marry me." What Marcus didn't realize was that Velari possessed exceptionally acute hearing, evolved from millions of years living in dense forests where detecting the faintest sounds meant survival. The observation deck's acoustic design, meant to allow for discreet monitoring, actually amplified whispered conversations directly down to the laboratory below. Lyra's head turned sharply upward, her large eyes widening as she located Marcus's position. Her skin shifted to a deep purple, a color Marcus had learned indicated surprise or intense emotion among her people. The silver patterns on her temples began to pulse rhythmically, creating a mesmerizing display that caught the attention of everyone in the laboratory. Kai noticed his colleague's sudden change immediately. "Lyra, what has occurred?" "Your chromatic response suggests significant emotional stimulation." "The human Marcus," she said softly, her voice carrying a note of wonder. He spoke of marriage. To me, the laboratory fell silent as other Velari researchers turned to observe this unprecedented development. In their culture, the concept of marriage was sacred, representing not just romantic union, but a profound spiritual and intellectual bonding between two souls. For someone to express such intentions, even in private, was considered a declaration of the highest honor and deepest affection. Marcus, realizing that something had shifted in the atmosphere below, felt his stomach drop. Lyra was staring directly at him now, her expression unreadable. Had he somehow offended her? Violated some cultural taboo? The last thing he wanted was to jeopardize the delicate diplomatic relationships they had all worked so hard to build. He stood slowly and made his way down to the laboratory, his heart pounding with each step. The other researchers, both human and Velari, created a respectful distance as he approached Lyra. Her skin continued its gentle pulsing between blue and purple, and those silver patterns on her temples had grown more complex, forming intricate designs he had never seen before. Lyra, Marcus began, his voice uncertain. I hope I haven't said anything to upset you or your people. I was speaking privately and didn't realize. She stepped closer to him, her opalescent eyes studying his face with an intensity that made him feel completely transparent. When she spoke, her voice was soft but clear enough for everyone present to hear. In Velari culture, Marcus of Earth, the concept of marriage is not spoken lightly. It represents the highest form of connection between two beings, a bond that transcends physical attraction and encompasses intellectual, emotional, and spiritual unity. Marcus felt heat rise in his cheeks, embarrassment and fear mixing in equal measure. I understand if I've overstepped boundaries. I respect your culture and your people too much to. You misunderstand, Lyra interrupted gently, reaching out to touch his hand with her cool, smooth fingers. Among my people, when someone speaks of marriage with genuine intention, as I heard in your voice, it is considered a gift, a precious offering of one's complete self to another. The silver patterns on her temples brightened, and her skin settled into a warm lavender hue that Marcus had never seen before. Around them, the other Velari began to hum in harmonious tones, a traditional song of celebration and blessing. I have observed you as well, Marcus of Earth, Lyra continued, her musical voice growing stronger. Your kindness, your dedication to understanding our ways, your respect for all living beings. These qualities have touched my heart in ways I did not expect when your people first arrived. She paused, her free hand reaching up to trace one of the silver patterns now glowing softly on her own temple. In my culture, these markings appear only when we encounter our life partner. They have been growing brighter each day since we met. Marcus stared at her in amazement, hardly daring to believe what he was hearing. Around them, both human and Velari researchers watched with fascination as two different species found common ground in the universal language of love. So, Lyra said, her opalescent eyes sparkling with joy and mischief, this human custom of marriage you speak of, perhaps you could teach me more about it. Marcus smiled, feeling as though his heart might burst from happiness. In that moment, surrounded by friends from two different worlds, he realized that some connections transcend species, culture, and the vast distances between stars.